What's up, guys? It's Automotive Anonymous. Thanks for returning to another one of my vehicle reviews. Today we have another Bronco. It's a 2023 and it's a black diamond, which is similar to the trim level that the Eruption Green one I did a few weeks ago. After driving the Bronco Raptor though, this decent sized Bronco actually looks a little bit small compared to that, but compared to basically anything else, it looks pretty dang impressive. I borrowed this one from Twin Falls Subaru. I'll link them below. They're good people to work with. And we're gonna get right into it with a walk around review, go through the specs, driving impressions, 0 to 60, and final thoughts to decide, is a Bronco, maybe even a black diamond, worth your time and money? These are really cool. It's technically the 6th trim level. This one is obviously red, and there's 10 trim levels of the full-size Bronco model. A black diamond starts at about 41 grand, but this one has some extra goodies. The lowest trim level would start at about 32,000. Some of the things you get with the black diamond are the 7 GOAT modes. Get those 32-inch tires, power-coated bumpers, LED fog lights, rock rails, and a bash plate up front, so you get some pretty darn cool features, as well as like the vinyl seats, and you can wash out the floors. There's drain plugs underneath. It's a mid-sized SUV based off of the Ranger, and Ford actually sold 117,000 of these last year, anticipating that 2023 might sell even more, because these have steadily been gaining a lot of popularity, especially among Wrangler owners and people who want a competitor to the long-standing platform that the Jeep Wrangler is. This one has the 2.3 turbo, makes about 300 horse, 325 torque. I'll show you under the hood in just a little bit. And then it has the 7-speed transmission, which is hard to find and pretty darn cool. They got 16 city, 18 highway with the manual transmission. So with the 20-gallon tank, you're road tripping for up to 360 miles per tank, baby. Depending on the engine and how it's spec'd, these can tow between 33 and 4,500 pounds. This being the smaller engine, you can expect it to be on the lower end of that. But it has the package ready to go. They're roughly 16.5 feet long, 6 1/3 feet wide, and over 6 feet tall, so they're pretty darn big, pretty darn impressive. Depending on the configuration, the cab size, and the engine, they range between 43 and 4,900 pounds. And then those 32-inch tires, they're a 265/70/17. They look pretty darn impressive. The smallest tired Bronco has about 8.5 inches of ground clearance. This one has about 9.5. If you get the Sasquatch package with those 35s, you're getting closer to 11.5. And if you're in the Bronco Raptor, like I did a 5 things I love video on that recently, that thing has about 13 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty dang impressive. But let's hop into the 7-speed hardtop full-size Bronco and see what it has to offer. When you open the door, the windows drop down just in preparation for whatever configuration the top is, since these are all convertibles, and you can pretty easily take off the door panels and drive doorless if you want, similar to a Wrangler. Anyways, you get a small-sized but pretty comfortable and water-repellent armrest. You have a good grab handle with your fingers going through, and then you got the mesh bungee-styled pocket, and it shows where to lift if you're taking off the door. Nothing on the door sill, just a little bit of grip. You'd have rubberized mats if you want, and then there's the drain plug, rubberized pedals, and dead pedal, hood release, electronic parking brake, which is important because that's the manual, and your lighting configurations with a nice beefy grab handle that says Bronco. It's customizable. You can take those off with a torque screw, and I do like that you have the rubber grips on all of the vents. But let's hop inside on these water repellent seats that are manually adjusted with Bronco stamped right in the middle. Firing it up with the push button start, make sure we're in neutral, clutches down. Fires right up. Show you what we have on that infotainment screen. And if you want to go to the home setting there, you have a little bit more goodies you can look through. On the steering wheel, it's leather wrapped. It feels good. I wish this was a little bit bigger for your 6 o'clock driving position. You have cruise control settings on the left, audio, and voice on the right. A little bit of storage up here. Just don't put anything that's going to melt in the sun. And then these are the options you have on this black diamond for the rear locker, traction off, and hazards. The screen is pretty cool, pretty responsive. You do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The speaker quality is pretty decent. And then physical buttons, which we like. Kind of cool that Bronco has a picture. So if you don't know where to put it, but your face is feeling cold, that's what you're gonna push. We have the plugins down here, USB-C, USB. And then there are our GOAT modes. We have the manual to go into reverse or crawl, pull up, go over. The backup camera is decent. The wheel moves and the projection lines move as well. It's a little bit grainy, but at least it's the full screen, which I do like. Or you can go down into the crawl, which is kind of like a 4-low type of setting if you're off-roading. And then the rest of the shifts are fairly short for a full-size vehicle like this. You have the Bronco, born in Dearborn, Michigan. A little bit of storage and a couple cup holders. Then you have all of your controls down there for the windows and the mirrors, kind of cool and pretty big. Center console at the 12 volt and an uninstalled small lift tray. Up top we have all of your auxiliary switches and your lighting controls up there, nothing on the mirror. And then it's pretty easy to take off the roof if you want to go through that. It's a little bit easier though on the soft top, I would say. So this one's a bit harder and you can't just throw it back like you can on the other one. But let's turn off the vehicle. Let's hop in the back and see how we sit behind ourselves in this Bronco. The back door panel follows the same theme as the front. You got just a smaller size bungee pocket, another spot for your fingers, and again the baby sized armrest, which really is pretty comfortable with a nice big door handle. You could use that easily with gloves on. Child safety locks are non-existent on this one, so you're not going to get locked in the back seat. Otherwise, the 60-40 split looks pretty good. If the seats are up, you do have a little bit of storage down here. Not super intentionally designed, but you could fit some long items down there. Another drain plug. Let's hop in. At 5'11", I have an inch or so of room and a couple inches above my head. It's fairly comfortable, but it does feel compact and tight, similar to what a four-door Wrangler feels like. Ford wants to remind you, this is not a steppy, so don't step on here when you're going through the roof. And then you have your window controls and two more USB plugins down there. Nothing for a center armrest, but you can see kind of the frame, the roll cage of the Bronco from back here. It looks pretty cool. So if you are being chaperoned with your small size map pocket, you do have a pretty good view. It feels kind of like you're sitting in a tank. One more thing I'll show you is when you do drop the seats, your storage underneath them disappears basically completely, and they don't lay flat either. In the back of the Bronco, you just swing it open to the passenger side, pull up the top, there's some shocks that hold it, and you got 38 cubic feet of room like this. If you drop the seats, you get just over 83 roughly. And here are all those extra mats, because you didn't see those down earlier. There's not much storage down here, just a little bit of room since most of your tires on the back hatch. There are your tools though, and what are you going to hide down there? Comment below. You got some tie downs, got 12 volts, some lighting, and a little bit of extra storage right here. You can see the speakers on this one in the back and that frame, so if you take off the whole roof, you're gonna have a pretty good time. It's gonna look very similar to a Wrangler. You have the door panel, looks identical. You guys know what you're expecting now. Same design back here. You do get another miniature sized Apple Maps, paper maps, pamphlets, backseat driver, map pocket. The 40 split folds easily, it's light, it just doesn't lay completely flat to the back. There's kind of a drop down area. So car camping back here, good luck, unless you have a really good mattress that accommodates it. But when you're riding shotgun in the Bronco, what do you get? Can you carry a shotgun? That's gonna be kind of tight if you do. Same design throughout, same physically adjusted seats. Our seat belt is keeping our backpack though pretty safe. We do have another Bronco logo. Grab bar, locking glove box. No outlets or anything back here, but it is adequately sized for the class. time to go around the front and see what that 300 horsepower power plant that's basically out of the Mustang EcoBoost looks like. Pop the hood, and there she is. Ford doesn't necessarily make the EcoBoosts a pretty engine, but they do make them easy to work on because there's a lot of room on all sides, and there's a lot that's out in the open. Starting with what we know, induction through the grill, through the filter, through all the piping and plumbing to get through the turbo, and then into the upper intake manifold, and then the exhaust side with the turbo. On the passenger side, you have the brake fluid reservoir, the battery positive and negative terminals. You have the windshield washer reservoir just in front of the coolant reservoir, oil dipstick, and 5W30 engine fill. 300 horse, about 325 torque, with a big aftermarket support on these. Let's drop the hood. And my favorite part, we're gonna hop inside, take it for a drive, and see how it does on the road. Initial driving impressions of the 7-speed Bronco is that it's really good. It's pretty fun. Having driven a 10-speed in the regular Black Diamond and briefly in a Ford Bronco Raptor, I definitely think this is the best way to do it. It's easy to shift. That 2.3 is very responsive. It's a fun transmission. We're not going to off-road today or get it in crawl mode or anything, but you can tell it does a really good job. 7-speed is definitely the way to go if you're going 2.3 liter Bronco. With about 9.5 inches of ground clearance and a 10-foot wheelbase, it really handles pretty well. On the road, it feels pretty stable. Those two 32-inch tires are very confidence-inspiring. You can drive over a whole lot of stuff. I will say though, with this hardtop, wind and road noise are quite noticeable. Visibility is fantastic. Big side mirrors, good visibility throughout. And you just feel really special driving something like the Bronco. There aren't many of these square body-on-frame SUVs left. The Bronco's really given the Jeep Wranglers a run for their money with how many of these are sold, well over 100,000 already per year. Just a really special feeling vehicle. The sound system in this one is decent. It's not bad because of the wind and road noise that protrudes into the cabin. You know, the sound quality probably could be a little bit better, but you're not buying this car for a dampened, you know, mute experience. You're gonna be doing some fun adventures in it. Power delivery, I feel like, is pretty good in this turbo engine. You'll see the 0 to 60 in just a little bit. It's not as fast as the 10-speed if you saw that video of mine, but you can hear the turbo spool. And it has more than enough power to pass on the interstate, the highway, wherever you're going. You feel like you sit up, although not as high as an actual full-size truck, more of the mid-size, which this is based off of, like the Ford Ranger or Tacomas. Engagement point on the clutch, I feel like it's pretty easy. It's about halfway down. And then once you're in the power band, it does really well. But then once you're cruising in 6th gear, at 70, yeah, there's a lot of road noise, a lot of wind noise. It is pretty windy out today, so it's not a true fair comparison. We've been having high teens to low 20 mile per hour wind lately. But overall, it's really a fun experience riding the Bronco. I mentioned in my other Bronco videos, it reminds me of my old supercharged FJ Cruiser. That thing was a hoot. This is a really fun vehicle. They're definitely a little bit pricey. Loaded out like this, it's more expensive than the average new vehicle, but it gives you a better experience than the average new vehicle. They're really fun to drive. It's cool to just see all the Easter eggs and all the specific Bronco features that make you know you're not driving just another Jelly Bean SUV, but you're in something special. You get a lot of looks when you're driving it, especially this hot red color. And if you're not going on too many road trips, too much around the country, if you're staying around town, going to the off the beaten path, doing things like that, then the gas mileage and something like even the 7-speed probably isn't going to bother you that much. Otherwise, all the comfort in here is just fantastic for what it is. It's not a Lincoln, it's not a Cadillac. It's an off-road machine. And it does really well with being what it's designed to do. Really cool that Ford brought this back, especially when the Blazer, although I really like that vehicle, it definitely went more of the street version. This is still the aggressive body-on-frame SUV that's capable, more so than they used to be. Let's get to our private road, or 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the Bronco. We're gonna leave traction control off and two-wheel drive because it's not gonna spin these tires. Our private road is very slick and cold today. It's about 23 degrees. I'm gonna do a little bit of a rev, slide the clutch, and see what I can do. 0 to 60, I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60, and then I'll show the GPS graph after. The bottom left shows what it does without the foot of rollout, the way it's rated by the magazine. Density altitude is 2,500 feet, so the vehicle is down on power about 4%. Let's begin. It feels pretty quick, although not quite as quick as the 10-speed that I drove. This one did 8.52. If you want to be a little bit more abusive, you could of course get a faster time, but that's really not bad in our altitude for this vehicle on 32-inch tires. Final thoughts of the Bronco Black Diamond. Would you guys buy one? Would you buy a different trim level? There are 10 after all, and they're super duper fun. If I'm gonna go 4-cylinder, I'm personally getting the manual every time. I think we should support that because if Ford doesn't sell any, they're not gonna keep putting R&D money into producing it. I haven't driven the 2.7, but I've driven the 3-liter twin turbo in the Raptor, and every Bronco I've driven, I've actually been pretty darn impressed with so far. They look menacing. They carry themselves well on the road. They do have a lot of wind noise, as I just mentioned in the review driving, but they look so dang good, you quickly forget about the trade-offs, and they handle a lot better on the interstate than something that's like a solid front axle, like the Wrangler. It's just cool that Ford brought these back. They're gonna be around for a while, and a lot of people are still waiting a long time in line to get their hands on one with back orders and supply to demand issues. So comment below, are you guys a happy owner? Are you a sad owner? Are you wanting to try the ownership experience? And what are you comparing this to? Like always guys, if you enjoyed my video, please like it, help it get spread. Subscribe if you want to bookmark my channel for other cool stuff. And always just comment below, tell me what to do next. See you guys on the next one. Take care.